Sophia Everhart had never imagined that her life would be as ordinary as it had become. She was 26, living in a modest apartment in the heart of London. She had a job at a local bookshop, surrounded by novels that often felt like her only real friends. She had once been full of dreams and ambition, but after losing James, those dreams had crumbled like dust in her hands. James was everything to her first love, her partner, and her future. They had been inseparable throughout their years in university, planning a life together. But then, one morning, he had left without a word. No note, no phone call, just an empty apartment. Sophia had waited for weeks, hoping for an explanation, but none came. Instead, she was left with a broken heart and a life that seemed to have no purpose. For months, she moved through life in a fog, unable to grasp the idea that he was truly gone. The hurt was unbearable, but she forced herself to keep going. Work, home, repeat. Her friends had told her to move on, to let go, but it wasn't that simple. The pain of losing James had imprinted itself on her soul. Every day was a struggle to remember who she had been before, the girl full of hope, the girl who had believed in love without conditions. Sophia didn't know if she would ever be that person again. One afternoon, as Sophia was shelving books in the bookshop, a new voice interrupted the quiet. It was light, full of energy, and undeniably cheerful. "Excuse me," the voice said, "but do you have any books on modern literature? I'm new in town, and am looking for something inspiring." Sophia looked up to see a woman standing at the counter, her dark hair pulled back into a messy ponytail and bright green eyes that sparkled with curiosity. She was younger than Sophia, maybe 23, and she radiated a warmth that Sophia hadn't realized she'd been missing. "Of course," Sophia replied, her voice soft. "Follow me." As they walked to the literature section, the woman introduced herself. "I'm Clara," she said, her smile wide. "I just moved to London a week ago. I'm starting my PhD at the university." Sophia couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. Clara's life seemed so full of promise, so full of new beginnings. Sophia had long since given up on the idea of a fresh start. "I'm Sophia," she said, offering a half smile. "I work here." Clara looked at her for a moment before speaking again. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You seem, I don't know, a little lost, like you're somewhere far away." Sophia hesitated, surprised by Clara's observation. Most people never noticed the way she felt. They just saw her as quiet, introverted, and slightly aloof. "I'm fine," she said, forcing a smile. "Just tired." But Clara didn't seem convinced. Instead, she smiled warmly, as though she knew something that Sophia didn't. "Well, if you ever want to talk, I'm here. New city, new friends, right?" Sophia wasn't used to people offering their friendship so easily. But there was something about Clara, something genuine, that made her believe this woman was different. Over the next few weeks, Clara and Sophia began to spend more time together. Clara had a way of drawing people out, making them feel like they were worth something, even when they didn't believe it themselves. She would invite Sophia out for coffee or to visit the parks around London, and though Sophia felt hesitant at first, she eventually found herself looking forward to their time together. Clara was always full of stories about her studies, her adventures, and her thoughts on life. She was passionate, curious, and full of ideas. She had this way of seeing the world that made Sophia feel as though her own life could still have purpose. One afternoon, after an especially long conversation about books and dreams, Clara asked, "Sophia, why are you still here, stuck in this cycle of pain? Why don't you just let go of him?" Sophia stiffened, her hand tightening around her coffee cup. "I can't," she whispered. "I don't think I'll ever be able to. James was everything to me." Clara leaned forward, her eyes intense. "But he's gone, and he might never come back. And you deserve more than that, don't you?" Sophia felt the weight of Clara's words sink in. She had always known that, but hearing it from someone else made it feel real. "I don't know how to move on," Sophia said softly. "I don't even know who I am without him." Clara placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "You are more than just your past, Sophia. You have a life to live. a future to create. Don't let the past define you. For the first time in a long while, Sophia felt the stirrings of hope. Could she really move on? Could she let herself heal? Months passed, and though Sophia didn't feel whole again, she began to feel better. Clara had introduced her to new experiences and new people, and for the first time in years, Sophia could see a glimmer of happiness. It was slow, but it was something. Then, one evening, just as she was finishing her shift at the bookstore, Sophia received an unexpected message. It was from an unknown number, and the message read, "Sophia, I need to see you. Please. Eve made a mistake, and I need to explain. Please don't hate me. James." Sophia's heart stopped. She stared at the message, the words blurring as her mind raced. She had never thought this moment would come. She had buried the hope of seeing him again so deep that she hadn't even realized it was still there. She couldn't breathe. What was she supposed to do? What did he want after all this time? Had he really changed? Clara found her later that night, sitting on the couch in her apartment, holding her phone in a daze. "You got his message, didn't you?" Clara asked gently. Sophia nodded, unable to speak. "What are you going to do?" Clara asked. Sophia looked up, her eyes filled with a mix of anger, confusion, and deep pain. "I don't know. Part of me wants to see him, to understand why he left. But another part of me is terrified that he'll fall into the same pattern again. What if he leaves again?" Clara sat beside her, her eyes soft but firm. "You have to decide what's best for you, Sophia. But remember, you've spent so long waiting for him, for someone else to fix you. Maybe it's time to fix yourself first." Sophia's heart swelled with gratitude for Clara's support. She had always been the one to pick up the pieces, to heal others. But maybe it was time for her to focus on herself for once. The next day, Sophia agreed to meet James. It wasn't easy. Every step toward the CAF, where they had agreed to meet, felt like walking toward her own destruction. The weight of the past, the unanswered questions, and the fear of being hurt again hung over her like a dark cloud. When she saw him sitting at the table, waiting for her, it was as though no time had passed. James still looked the same, tall, dark-haired, and handsome, his deep brown eyes filled with regret. He stood up when she approached, and for a moment, they simply stared at each other, both unsure of how to begin. "I never thought you'd want to see me again," James said, his voice thick with emotion. "I didn't think I deserved a second chance." Sophia swallowed hard, her throat tight. "You don't get to decide that," she replied, her voice soft but firm. "I'm the one who has to decide if I want you in my life again." "I know," James said, his eyes full of sincerity. "And I'll do anything to make it right." "I was scared, Sophia. I was so scared of the future, of everything we were building. I wasn't ready. But now, all I want is a chance to show you that Eve changed." Sophia's heart was torn between anger and longing. He had hurt her in ways she couldn't even begin to describe, but the love she had for him was still there, buried deep inside. The question was, could she forgive him? Could she trust him again? As the hours passed, Sophia and James talked. They talked about everything, their past, their mistakes, their hopes for the future. And though the road ahead seemed uncertain, something inside Sophia began to shift. She realized that while she couldn't erase the past, she could choose how to move forward. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Sophia spoke. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again, James," she said, her voice shaking. "But I can't keep living in the past. I have to let go of the anger. I have to let go of the hurt." James reached across the table, his hand trembling as he touched hers. "I'll do whatever it takes to make things right, Sophia. I promise." Sophia didn't know what the future would hold, but she knew one thing for sure. She was no longer living for someone else's approval. She was choosing herself, choosing to heal, and choosing a love that was worthy of her. The weeks that followed Sophia's reunion with James were filled with uncertainty. The initial rush of emotions after their meeting faded, leaving a lingering question that Sophia couldn't escape. Could she really trust him again? James had promised to do whatever it took to rebuild their relationship, But Sophia wasn't sure if he could erase the hurt that had been carved so deeply into her heart. The memories of the past were still vivid: his sudden disappearance, the months of waiting, the quiet nights spent wondering where he had gone and why he hadn't come back. Every time she thought of him, the pain surged again, like a fresh wound. But at the same time, there was something else, something she couldn't quite explain. A part of her still loved him, still cared for him in ways that defied logic. In the days after their meeting, James had made an effort to reach out. He sent texts, small gifts, and even tried to set up more meetings. But Sophia felt conflicted. The desire to see him, to listen to him, was there, but so was the fear of falling back into the same old pattern, the pattern of hoping for someone who might leave again. Clara had been a constant presence in Sophia's life since her return. The young woman had become her confidant, her anchor, and her reminder that healing wasn't linear. Clara would visit Sophia almost daily, sitting with her in the small apartment they both shared. Despite her busy schedule as a PhD student, Clara always found time for Sophia. One evening, as they sat on the couch, Clara noticed the distant look in Sophia's eyes. She had known her long enough to recognize the signs of inner turmoil. "Hey, what's going on in that head of yours?" Clara asked, nudging Sophia's shoulder. Sophia sighed deeply, looking out the window at the dark sky. "It's James," she admitted. "He's trying. But I don't know if I can trust him again. Part of me wants to let him back in, but another part of me feels like it'll just be hurt again." Clara leaned back, her expression serious but kind. "Sophia, I get it. But you need to ask yourself, are you ready to forgive him? Not for him, but for yourself? If you keep holding on to the pain, it's only going to weigh you down. You have to decide whether you want him in your life again, but that decision has to come from a place of healing, not fear." Sophia nodded slowly, the weight of Clara's words settling deep within her. It wasn't just about James. It was about Sophia finding her own peace, her own closure. Could she let go of the past and allow herself to heal? A few days later, Sophia found herself at a crossroads. She had been ignoring James' calls, hesitating to meet him again. But the question continued to haunt her. What if she didn't give him a chance? What if he truly had changed, and she was shutting the door on a future they could have together? Sophia needed answers. She had to know if James had truly changed or if he was simply trying to patch up the damage he had done. And so, she agreed to meet him once more. This time, she would go into the meeting with a clear head. She wouldn't let her emotions cloud her judgment. The CAF they chose was the same one where they had met months before, the place where everything had come undone. As she stepped inside, the memories flooded back, the warmth of his smile, the way he had looked at her, the life they had planned together. She wondered if this was the beginning of something new, or just the last chapter of their story. James was already there, waiting at their usual table, looking more nervous than she had ever seen him. His hair was a little longer and he had a few more lines around his eyes, but other than that, he looked the same. He stood up when she approached, his eyes filled with a mix of hope and apprehension. "Hi," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm glad you came." Sophia nodded, sitting down across from him. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at him. The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. It was clear that James had a lot he wanted to say, but Sophia needed to know that he understood the gravity of what he had done. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Sophia spoke. "You disappeared, James," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "Without a word. You left me with no explanation. I spent months wondering what happened, why you left, and if it was something I did. I can't just forget that." James' face softened, and he reached across the table, his hand shaking slightly.
"I'm sorry, Sophia."
Eve never stopped regretting it. "I wasn't ready for what we were building. I was scared of commitment, scared of everything that was coming. But none of that is an excuse for what I did. I know I hurt you, and I'll never be able to take that back." Sophia looked at him, her heart heavy with the years of pain and uncertainty. "I need to know that you've changed," she said, her voice firm. "I need to know that if I open my heart to you again, you won't leave. That I won't be left alone again." James nodded, his eyes pleading. I won't leave you again, Sophia. I promise. I'll do anything to make it right. Sophia sat back in her chair, her mind racing. She had wanted this, wanted him to come back, to apologize, to prove that he still cared. But the fear was still there. Could she truly trust him again? Could she open her heart to him without the constant fear of abandonment? The next few days were filled with confusion. Sophia couldn't stop thinking about her conversation with James. Part of her longed for a future with him, for the love they had shared. But another part of her wanted to walk away, to protect herself from the pain she had experienced. Clara, as always, was there to help her sort through her emotions. The two women spent hours talking about everything, about love, about forgiveness, about what it meant to truly move on. You know what you need to do, don't you? Clara asked one evening, as they sat in their favorite CAF.
You can't keep holding on to the past.
You have to let go of the anger and fear. But you also need to ask yourself, can you forgive him? Can you love him again? Without carrying the weight of what happened? Sophia looked at Clara, her eyes filled with uncertainty. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can ever trust him again. Clara smiled gently. The hardest part is always the beginning. But trust isn't something that happens overnight. It's something you have to build, piece by piece. You have to decide if he's worth that effort. The words hung in the air, and for the first time in a long time, Sophia felt a sense of clarity. Clara was right. She couldn't keep living in the past, afraid to trust, afraid to love. It was time to make a choice, either to walk away or to open her heart again. Sophia's decision came unexpectedly, a quiet moment of realization as she stood on the balcony of her apartment, watching the city come alive with lights. She knew what she had to do. She had to let go of the fear. She had to give James a chance, not because she needed him, but because she was ready to heal. The next morning, she called him. I'm ready to see you, she said softly. But this time, we start fresh. No more secrets, no more running away. We take it slow, and we see where it goes. But I need to know that you're committed. That this time you'll stay. James' voice was filled with relief and gratitude. I'll stay. I promise. And I'll prove it to you every day. Sophia smiled softly, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew that she was ready for it. She was no longer living in the shadow of her past. She was ready to build something new, something real, with James, something that was hers.